In this movie, I'll show you how to mask the contents of an entire layer. And this is a really great feature that oftentimes goes overlooked. So if you're working along with me, go ahead and turn on the bird layer here inside the layers panel. And I don't know if it makes much sense right now, but these are a bunch of objects that are going to serve as highlights and shadows inside the bird's body. But first we need to mask these objects so that they look like this. And so I'll go ahead and switch back to our document in progress here. And what you want to do is twirl open the bird layer. So go ahead and click on a triangle in front of it in order to expand that layer. And then go down to this guy right here at the bottom. It's a group, and you can see that's the case if you go ahead and target it by clicking on its circular meatball over here in the left-hand column. And now what I want you to do is go to the Edit menu and choose the Copy command, or press Control-C or Command-C on the Mac. And then press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac in order to deselect the artwork, and then return to the Edit menu and choose Paste in Front, or press Control-F or Command-F on the Mac. And the reason we're pasting in front is that whole layer clipping masks have to be at the top of a given layer. All right, the thing to know about the paths in this group is that they both contain dynamic effects. And you can see what those effects look like by double-clicking anywhere inside the group in order to enter the isolation mode. And then go ahead and click on one of the path outlines, such as this circle right here, and then go to the Window menu and choose the Appearance command. And you'll see this dynamic effect, Warp: Shell Lower. And so if you click on that item, you'll bring up the Warp Options dialog box. Notice that the style is set to Shell Lower. We'll learn more about these when we discuss dynamic effects in an upcoming chapter. But for now, make sure that the Preview checkbox is turned on, and then you can play with the bend value in order to modify the effect. In any event, I like what I have, so I'm just going to cancel out. If you select the skinny ellipse up toward the top of the document, you can see that it's responsible for all three of the feathers as a result of these various dynamic effects working together. And if you want to find exactly how I put this bird together, then you can check out Deeks Techniques number 207 from the year 2013. But for now, I'm just going to press the Escape key in order to exit the isolation mode. Now, here's the thing to know about clipping masks. They, generally speaking, have to be static path outlines. They can't have a bunch of dynamic effects assigned to them. And so to turn this into a path outline, go ahead and click anywhere inside the object to select the entire group, and then go to the Object menu and choose Expand Appearance. And that will give you a group, as you can see over on the far left side of the control panel, of static path outlines. After which point, go to the Window menu and choose Pathfinder to bring up the Pathfinder panel, and then click on a Unite icon, which is the first icon in the first row, in order to turn that group into a single static path outline. All right, now you can hide the Pathfinder panel and switch back to the Layers panel. Now, for this next technique to work, you need the layer, not the mask, but the layer to be selected. So go ahead and click on the layer. You don't have to target it. Just click on the layer name here inside the Layers panel. And by the way, the object itself doesn't have to be selected. So if I press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on a Mac to deselect the artwork, we can still take advantage of this icon down here at the bottom of the Layers panel. Notice it, Make Release Clipping Mask. That is going to turn the top path outline into the clipping mask for the entire layer, even if some other object is selected. So let's say I target this thing called High, which are the highlights. It doesn't matter. As long as the layer is active, as long as you've clicked on it, here it's on the Layers panel, then you can click on the Make Release Clipping Mask icon, and that's going to turn that top path outline into a clipping mask. And you can tell that's the case by targeting it, at which point you'll see these two clipping options up here at the top, Edit Clipping Path and Edit Contents. All right, now at this point, the reason the thumbnail for this object appears as a jagged outline with no fill is because converting a path outline to a clipping mask, at least in this manner, goes ahead and sacrifices the fill and stroke attributes. But you can bring it back up here in the control panel. And so, for example, I want to assign this path outline a stroke. And so I'll click inside the line weight value there, and I'll change it to 3 points, and that will automatically give me a black stroke, as we're seeing in the swatches panel. All right, I'll go ahead and press the Escape key to hide that panel, and I'll press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect the path. All right, now I want to soften the shading a little bit, and I'm going to do that here inside the Layers panel by targeting this item called High, which represents the highlights. You also want to shift-click the meatballs for the next two objects down, which include this compound shape as well as this item called rear. And so it's very important that you target the items by clicking and shift-clicking on their circular meatballs in the right-hand column of the Layers panel. Then go up to the Effect menu, choose Blur, and choose Gaussian Blur. And I came up with a radius value of 3 pixels. You can see what that looks like by turning on the Preview checkbox. And as you can see, it goes ahead and softens those path outlines so that they more closely resemble custom gradients. And so now I'll click OK in order to apply that change. I also figured that it didn't make sense for the shadow to be just a standard ellipse without any grass action in it. So I'll go ahead and click on that ellipse to select it. And then I'll go up to the Effect menu, choose Distort and Transform, and choose the Roughen command, and I'll dial in those same values I used a few movies ago. I'll go ahead and set this guy to absolute. I want the size to be 5 points, and then I'll take the detail up to 30 per inch. And you can see what that looks like by turning on the Preview checkbox. Notice now we have a little bit of wiggling grass in that shadow, after which point I'll click OK in order to accept that effect, and I'll press Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on the Mac to deselect my artwork. And that's how you mask the contents of an entire layer using the frontmost static path outline on that layer here inside Illustrator.